Matoa, tama, wairua tapu, e inoi ana mato ki a koe. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, we bring our prayer before you. We come to you today as a broken people. We are overwhelmed with exhaustion, stress, and anxiety as we grapple with the devastation Cyclone Gabriel brought to our whenua and to our people. The last 16 days have been so incredibly tough for all of us as we have endeavoured to lead our way through this disaster. All that we are carrying, our tiredness, our stress, any sense of inadequacy that we aren't doing enough, the mistakes we have made, we give it all to you, O Te Atua. We lay it all at your feet, knowing that you can bear all of our pain and all of our worry. God, it feels like there is so much we have taken for granted for a long time. Ways of being and living that the cyclone has brought into sharp relief. How fundamental it is to care for the whenua and to resist the temptation to exploit it. Like a placenta, she is our lifeblood, and you have charged us with her care. We have learned that we need each other, that the individualistic society we have become offers no solutions or support in times like this. You have broken through our individualist mindset, calling, encouraging, and inspiring our community to do what we can for others. You have brought us together as community, enabling us to realise how important it is indeed to love our neighbour. Thank you, Jesus. Te Atua, you have also taught us the importance of rest. You modelled taking a day of rest each week and the importance of getting away to draw upon your sustaining grace. Help us to do the same. Help us to recognise that, especially in times like this, we need to connect with you, however we understand you, and to take good care of ourselves in order to serve others. God, we know there is no easy fix here, with communities of whānau left homeless, marae devastated, with bridges and roads broken, land buried in silt and businesses destroyed. We have a long journey ahead of us, doing the hard yards, making tough decisions in the recovery of our tangata and our whenua. What has remained strong throughout all of this is your wairua tapu and the way you have worked through so many people for the common good, whether they recognise themselves as people of faith or not. Thank you, Te Atua. May your wairua tapu continue to guide us all as we move from crisis mode to recovery. As we do so, may we dwell in the richness of wisdom of days of old, from our mana whenua and from the kingdom way of living that you long for us all, a way of being where all can flourish. As the Hastings District Council gathers today, we pray your blessing and your aroha upon each of them, thankful for the incredible mahi they have been doing to lead us through this darkened valley. As they meet today in this new post-cyclone age, may they be wise and courageous as they begin to make the tough decisions going forward. E te atua kaharawa, ho mai ki a mātou te maramatanga me te mohoetanga, mana kitia mai mātou I ngā wā katoa. Kororia ki tō ingoa tapu. Amenei. O God Almighty, give us understanding and knowledge, take care of us at all times, and may your holy name be glorified. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jill, and thank you for those wonderful words and reassuring words. Thank you. Thank you. I'd just also like to acknowledge everyone in the room and especially welcome our residents from Parkvale this afternoon. And also welcome our community who is watching online today. Councillor Anne Redstone and Deputy Mayor Tanya Kerr are attending this meeting but via Zoom. And I see that our Mayor is here. And I'm sure that she would love to actually acknowledge everyone and acknowledge the community and all the fantastic work that's been going on over the last few weeks. So I'll pass on to her.
Yes. Tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome everyone, and thank you very much, Councillor Lawson, for getting us started today. And great to see our community and see everyone in the chamber who has joined us for various matters as we navigate what we thought were some of our biggest priorities have significantly changed over the last 2 weeks, and what we know are our enormous priorities now as we manage the response and the recovery of our community through this huge cyclone event. Thank you very much for Jill for the lovely karakia, and if I have asked now for apologies or leave of absence. Councillor Fowler.
Your Worship, I'd like to apply for a leave of absence from the 24th of March to the 3rd of April, please.
Okay. Any others? Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Worship. Apology from Councillor Nixon, who's been called away, but he does expect to be back here at some stage this afternoon.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Lawson.
Apologies from Councillor Henry Hickey, who's called away this afternoon.
Thank you. Councillor Apatu.
Just a prior engagement at 4 o'clock, so I may hopefully be finished by then.
So yes, thank you. I'll move from the chair.
Sorry, Your Worship.
Oh, sorry.
I pressed the button. Leave of absence from the 7th to the 14th of April, school holiday time. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to move from the chair. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Councillor Sholem. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Now we'll just manage and welcome to our councillors who are on Zoom today, Deputy Mayor Tania Kerr and Councillor Redstone. Lovely to see you there. And I understand that it takes 2 hours for our Deputy Mayor to get to town at the moment, so you're in the best place on Zoom. Managing just conflicts of interest, councillors, if we could address them as we come to them through today's agenda. As others have said, I do have a community meeting in Bayview at 4 p.m, so if we're not completed by then, I will be handing over the chair. Thank you. And now we move on to item 4, which is confirmation of minutes from the 8th, 15th and 20th of December. Thank you, Councillor Watkins, seconded. Councillor Dixon, all those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. Any against? That is carried. Now we welcome item 5, which is a petition. It seems such a long time ago that Mark came into my office on the 23rd of December to present the petition. But here we are today, and it's great to see the Parkvale and Ada Street residents who are here with us, who have been in our office, who've been working through this with us. So I think welcome to you, Ross. You're going to speak to the petition? Apologies of having to defer this as receiving this formally, given the priorities that we've had in the last couple of weeks.
Your Worship, the Mayor, Councillors of the Hastings District Council, kia ora. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ross Stewart, and I am a recently retired police officer. Councillor Lawson, congratulations on your short-lived elevation. I have the pleasure of reading to the Council the petition that was presented to Council by residents of Parkvale and Ada Street. And it reads, Parkvale, Ada Street Intensification, RMA 20220-538. We, the undersigned residents of Ada Street and Parkvale, wish to voice our concerns with the impending intensification development planned for our street and suburb. It is our understanding that a current proposal, RMA 20220-538, before Council for 1203 and 1205 Ada Street is for 10 residents to be built on 2 sections of 2,025 square metres in total area. This is a non-compliant activity with the operative district plan in terms of bulk and dominance of the streetscape fronting Ada Street, shading and visual amenity given the 2-storey building design, lack of outdoor living spaces and lack of vehicle spaces provided within the development. Furthermore, this proposal sits outside proposed plan change 5, which is currently out for consultation from the Hastings District Council. As such, we believe this proposal will have a more than minor effect on the neighbourhood and require council to publicly notify the application. Ada Street is classified by council as a primary collector road for traffic movements and has over the last few years become a major road for travelling between Havelock North and Hastings with high traffic volumes and very limited off-street parking. There are also major wastewater infrastructure problems within the area where residents have reported sewage flowing onto the street for many years. To date, council has done nothing to alleviate this problem, and with greater intensification, even more pressure will be put on the infrastructure. We are also concerned that should intensification of this nature be approved, we will see more and more property developments such as this both along Ada Street and adjoining streets. We acknowledge that there is a need for housing, but this level of concentration does not meet the rules. We request that this proposal be publicly notified, or that for the sake of Parkvale suburb, the proposal is amended to meet the operative district plan requirements so that we continue to have a healthy, happy neighbourhood now and in the future. That is the petition, Council.
Thank you very much, Ross. And can I just say that Ross has been amazing working with youth in our communities and knows us very well from the past. We've done some wonderful things together, and lovely to hear from you today. Today we are receiving the petition, and since the petition first came, I'm pleased that in January we've had meetings with the developer. I've just come from a meeting with the Minister of Housing to identify opportunities for us. That means existing houses that are available for people to rent post our probably 2,000 people who have been isolated and not able to go back to their homes across the region. And so these are the big conversations that we are having at the moment. So we are receiving this report today, and the team are going through their normal regulatory process, but the conversations that we've had with some of your members, with the developers, are tracking very well. And we hear your message loud and clear. Thank you very much. Can I have a mover, please, for the report, councillors? Councillor Sholham, second, Councillor Butto. All those in favour, please say aye.
Your Worship, are we entitled to ask any questions?
No, not on the petition. We're just receiving it today. The process is running through the organisation, through planning and regulatory, but the other work that's going on with the developers and the residents will take very, very good shape. And there should be some feedback sooner rather than later. So I put that motion, please. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you very much. You're very welcome to stay, or you're very welcome to stay and listen to some of the other items. We now move on to our Cyclone Gabrielle, our response and our situation report. Very warm welcome to you, Chief Executive. We've just met the Minister of Finance and to understand how we can get a regional recovery and what that looks like. So it's a very good initial regional leaders, regional recovery response that we're working towards, but with a local lens for Heretaunga Hastings and all the localities across the region.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, good afternoon, councillors. Thought it was really important to set out, and I'll take it as read, but make a few points and obvious points. I mean, firstly, what happened on Tuesday, the 14th of February, is probably the largest natural disaster here, with all of the consequences for our community at individual community level, and I think we're still every day kind of dealing with how confronting that is for, the Hawke's Bay region, the Hastings district and communities within the district. But what I wanted to obviously set out was, just the scale as we understand it, and it's developing every day as we get better connections with communities that have been isolated. I don't think we ever thought, in terms of managing a natural disaster, we would be doing that on the day with no telecommunications, no power, severed roading connections that isolated most of our community between certainly Napier, Hastings, and our Wairoa whānau. And the scale of the devastation is big. Certainly for Hastings District, when we look at that across, the 8 bridges that have been completely destroyed, the 12 that have been seriously damaged in the context of Hastings District, the beautiful 5,500 square kilometres of Hastings District, significant damages to roads, to culverts, and obviously in our community to homes, businesses. We have undertaken rapid building assessments. 80, and it moves by the day, 80-something red stickered homes at this point, 600 plus yellow stickered homes. I want to acknowledge this being basically a story of where the water went, and obviously we've seen Esk Valley, but on the Hiratonga Plains flood protection scheme that got overwhelmed, the impacts on our beautiful marae and hapu communities of Waiheke, Oamahu, through Links Road, Pakowhai, Chester Hope, it's significant. But the response has also been amazing. I just want to, before I talk about the council, acknowledge everyone in our community, the people that have got out there and volunteered, the amazing things that we've seen. Not surprisingly, the thousands that have turned up at Oamahu, at Waiheke, the role that our marae have played, the Waiheke whānau that are still at Waipatu marae, the Tiaranga marae that stood up as welfare centres. But as you know, in response phase that we are in currently, that is our fundamental job and obligations is first about critical infrastructure and then the welfare of our communities. On infrastructure, the damage is significant. I was incredibly proud of the team that our core infrastructure performed well, that we're responsible for. Our wastewater treatment plant operated for days without power, but did so because, we had plans in place. We had generators on site. We had 10,000 litres of diesel to fuel the generator with secure fuel supply contractor and contractors turning up and keeping it running. Stormwater, and not going to sugarcoat this, we've had some localised challenges. Think about Havelock North and Joel Road. The last significant flood event in Hastings was in 1974. We built things like the detention dams in Havelock in the 70s that had never ever been tested in anger until the 14th of February. They overtopped, but the spillways. But the spillway performed as it was supposed to do. But it did put pressure on culverts and streams, and there has been damage. But broadly, our infrastructure performed, and we've seen an amazing community response. But we've also, and I want to acknowledge the council and the council staff. We stood up from the 14th of February. We've had teams operating 24/7, and everything won't be fast enough or big enough. But in terms of things that I'm amazed, we know our big focus at the moment is supporting whānau and community to deal with the huge volume of flood damaged waste. I mean, the fact that we could secure a site in Chester Hope and build a new, in effect, transfer station for silt and household rubbish, and build a road in a day and getting it operational. And I haven't got yesterday's figures, but I know sort of Tuesday's figures was something like 270 trucks of household waste that had been collected by the council and delivered to down Franklin Road to Chester Hope. A whole operation stood up that's shredding all of this household rubbish and compacting it to then be taken to Omranui landfill. As an example, to the regulatory team, and I want to acknowledge the support that we've had from councils all over New Zealand. The fact that we completed nearly 1,000 rapid building assessments last week and know the number of red stickered and yellow stickered homes. The work that the communities team working with our communities, with our marae, with our tai whenua to support, at the height of this 600 plus members of our community and RSE workers that were in a network of marae and community centres in terms of our welfare response. It's been significant. We are still in response phase, and that response phase is going to continue. We're in a national state of declared emergency that we are assuming that is likely to be extended for a further 7-day period. But we are also now moving to think about how do we also move into recovery that's going to have a short, medium and very long-term focus. That the recovery will, and I think we're framing this up as, it's a decade-long reinvestment in Hawke's Bay, things that are going to need to happen quickly, but clearly some of the challenges that we have, want to acknowledge that, one of the reasons that, Heretaunga is what we know and love in terms of how the plains have been able to be developed, relies on a flood protection scheme that has served us well up until the 14th of February. Next week, you will be formally briefed by the Regional Council about the assessed level of damage on the flood protection network, the plans to temporarily fix that to its existing levels, and then what is the plan to ensure that we have a fit-for-purpose flood protection scheme that is going to allow the Heretaunga Plains to continue to be a place that can grow what we're renowned for in terms of our food and produce. So just wanted to set out, and I suppose note in finishing that, one of the things that I need to make governors aware of is that the response, and I think rightly, is, we are spending in the order of $1 million a day that is not in our budget across things that we will be able to recover costs for through Waka Kotahi subsidies, through NEMA. But just to be aware that is the level of spend at the moment. The things why we've made rapid progress on the roading network, 85 crews, Mr. Thu, that are currently working out on our roads, trying to get to the critical things about how do we support our isolated communities, how do we get access and bridges restored as quickly as possible. But wanted to just give a comprehensive update around basically impacts, what the responses look like, and to note that we're also, whilst we're still going to be in response for a while, need to start getting ourselves organised for what does the recovery program look like, that will have some short, medium and very long-term areas of focus. But I will leave it at that, Your Worship, and happy to take any questions.
Any questions, councillors? No questions. So just before we move on, and I take a mover and a seconder. Oh, thank you. Councillor Redstone.
Kia ora. Thank you, Nigel. It is operational, but just wondering if we'll be re-looking or reviewing all our future capacity for our infrastructure in light of this storm and the possibility of there being many more similar storms in the future.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. Yes, we are going to have to, and the conversation that we've had this morning with ministers and the National Task Force, there are some very challenging questions that we're going to have to work together with central government and our communities, not just about infrastructure, but where do things get built back or not, as the case might be. I have to say that, we've had a few conversations that's probably reflected on the whakapapa of this place, and maybe not being surprised where some of the issues are. Swamp Road, Awa Toto, Te Awa. So some of the conversations about how do we build back better, working with the taiao instead against of it. What does long-term future resilient infrastructure look like? What does a fit-for-purpose flood protection scheme look like? Are all the things that we will know will form part of the recovery, but that's work still to do and conversations yet to come, but are going to be some of the confronting issues, not just for Hastings, but the region, and as Minister Robinson said this morning, whilst we've been probably the hardest hit for the government, they're dealing with this in Northland, Auckland, the Coromandel, Tairāwhiti and Hawke's Bay, and some of these are national conversations that need to be had.
Thank you.
So, and it's very clear that our message to the government is that this will be a regionally led response with the intel, with our community, alongside the other stakeholders like insurance councils and banks. But this is very much a conversation that we need to be taking to the government because it needs to come from us, our local knowledge first. Thank you. You happy to move, Councillor Redstone?
Yes.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor. Oh, sorry. Do you have a question? Thank you.
Kia ora. Just like to ask the question, Nigel. We have got expert advice from ex-mayor. So where does Māoridom sit in this equation to address what we will need in that recovery space, and who is on board to get the best person to represent us so that our needs are looked at and acknowledged across the Heretaunga Plains? Kia ora.
Kia ora, Councillor Jessup, through you, Your Worship. I think the really important work that we've been doing over the last 10 days together has not been councils on their own. So as we're developing what is the recovery phase that we're moving into, this is locality-based, regionally coordinated and prioritised, but as a genuine place-based partnership with iwi and mana whenua. So those conversations have been active. They're ongoing today. I'm interested maybe catching up with Mr. Paku at the end of the meeting around how a big hui went this morning. But that the commitment that has been made by the region's leaders across the regional chair, the 4 mayors, the chair of the iwi, the chairs of all the post-settlement groups, is we have to be shoulder to shoulder and do this together. The statement that has been made to the community and to the ministers of the Crown is we want a locally led, regionally coordinated plan for Hawke's Bay, and our leaders are committed to doing that together in partnership, and will work with the Crown. We are, I think, probably 2 or 3 days away from what that looks like, but those are the conversations that we are doing. Together in a very dynamic way. But this is at its heart, the thing that we've had now for 3 or 4 years is Matariki, which is it's not the treaty relationship between iwi and mana whenua and the Crown, but it is about how Hawke's Bay work in partnership between our regions and our iwi and mana whenua, and that should come together, and the commitment is there from all the leaders to do that together, working together in the best interests of our communities and the region as a whole.
Thank you. Post-settlement entity groups and iwi are at every meeting with every minister and representatives, and so everybody is jointly at the table.
Thank you, Your Honour. But on a lighter note, I'd just like to acknowledge that we as tangata whenua, and you as our on the Treaty of Waitangi Rights, that we were brought together in a strong push that allowed all of us to partake in that manaakitanga. I'm so proud of the kaimahi here because they've been working hard 24/7, but we've got to look at the bigger picture. When we look at it, we're all the same people. We all suffer, we all bleed. We all lost a lot of people. That was beyond our control. So I'd just like to acknowledge everyone that put their hand up, especially you, Sandra, because you've been going, we've been worried about you. Nigel, you're not Superman, a Superwoman. we try to be, but just to say that as one people, we came together for a common cause that was beyond what we ever dreamed of, and I hope we never have to go there again. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you, councillor Jessup. And on that note, can I thank everybody here for your hard mahi over the last 2 weeks? Just seeing you out in the field everywhere, doing your thing, just getting on with it and rolling up your sleeves. Yesterday being in our Esk Valley with our residents there, and councillor Kerr being up at Pātoka, Pukatitiri and Tutera, and just being amongst our communities and just feeling their pain and understanding their hardship and looking at help, support and solutions for them. But thank you for everyone who's been doing some incredible work. One of the highlights for me yesterday was going into Linden Estate Winery in the Esk Valley and seeing an army of volunteers who were washing down wine bottles and putting them back so they could be recartoned, but taking the silt off the wine bottles. And to every pocket we go to in our community, we're seeing this amazing work being done by, hundreds and hundreds of volunteers across everything that needs to happen. In some of our communities, we still need to get to and do a lot more work, but we will. And this is just a continuation of actually finding ways to support each and every community, because it's pretty sad and hard out there in many of our hardest hit communities. So thank you for that paper, Nigel. I have a mover, Councillor Redstone. I have a seconder, Councillor Butto. No further questions, comments? I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Moving on to item 7, we have parking controls. Welcome to you, James. Did you want to add anything to your paper? You want to come forward? Thank you. In case there's any questions. Thank you. Any questions for James on these parking control changes? Councillor Watkins, did you have a question?
Yes, I do, Your Worship. Just looking at the map you've provided of the car spaces, the proposed lease spaces are sort of in the middle of the section. I wonder why you didn't sort of put them at one end so that people coming in for general parking aren't split round a leased block of cars.
Thank you, Councillor Watkins. We identified that being the most unutilised area of that car park. Both ends, the northern end and southern end, were always full. This area we identified as being least utilised.
Councillor Dixon?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. James, mine was a similar question, but are these new lease car parks going to be advertised, available to the wider community?
No, the leased car parks aren't advertised as such to the public. We have a growing waiting list of people acquiring leased car parks, and that's forever growing.
How many do we have on the list, James? I know there's a lot.
That's fine.
A lot, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll just make one comment, Your Worship, through you. And obviously, some of this demand is by the fact that we've just had a whole lot of new arrivals into the old Hastings Health Centre in terms of the Regional Economic Development Agency, the Chamber of Commerce that have all located in, and hence growing, just a growing level of demand for lease parking.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Sholham?
Thank you, Worship. Just noting that the report says that there's been a drop in, traditional demand for parking outside of lease parking to 45%, 45.7% in 2022. Do you know roughly when that parking analysis was done, like time of year and just interested.
John to answer that. Mr. O'Shaughnessy?
We've been very fortunate in that we've been able to do those parking studies. This information's come out through the parking study. Is that we've been doing the parking study that's going to come through to you, and so we've also had a vehicle going around doing number plate recognition, so we know it's pretty accurate. So it's not surprising that they're being underutilised because of the fact that we have significant vacancies in both the Westpac and the BNZ Towers, which is always good.
Thank you, that makes sense. I'm very happy to support the recommendations. I'm happy to
Thank
move.
you. Have a second, councillors. Councillor Lawson? All those in favour, please say aye.
Yeah, I had a question.
Oh, thank you. I haven't got your names up at the moment. I don't know why. Simon?
Up here.
Councillor Nixon?
Thank you. I just wondered if we took into account that the Westpac building is currently empty, and when that fills up, there could be an increased demand for casual parking, and also where the BNZ provides parks. For a long time, there were some free parks there that anybody could use, but now the Taiwhanua's moved in there. They've taken some. I just wondered if the number's not a little more than, that we're taking out is not a little more than we should be doing in the long run.
Thank you, John.
Through you, Madam Chair, as I just mentioned, that's why we've done that in the short term. And bear in mind, these leases can be terminated, but the issue is that they're really underutilised now. We've got a kind of hive of activity happening in the old post office, so it makes sense to lease them. And I'm sure, as James said, we'll have numerous other people wanting to take them up. You know, maybe Te Tai Whenua, I think they're in the BNZ, they've expressed interest. So I think we'll be able to do it, but we'll retain the flexibility if we need to terminate the leases.
Thank you. I have a mover and a seconder. I'm going to put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you very much, James. Right, moving on now to item 8, Plan Change 4, and the Tamata submissions that we received on our prohibition line. Very warm welcome to you, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for your wonderful work you've done in this very, very hard mahi, and we're grateful to be receiving these today. Welcome, Rowan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, this is just, as everyone knows, a long-awaited plan change, and this is bringing the submissions of support to you for adoption. It's just a formal part of the RMA process, and also we're trying to fast-track it by also asking you to bring the operative stage forward, barring any appeals. And I have checked that with our lawyer that we're able to do that, and she said, yes, that's all kosher. So hoping that's self-explanatory.
Great. Thanks very much, Rowan. Councillor Jessup?
I'm just so proud that we have got to this stage. Our people have waited for such a long time. It's quite an emotional moimao that's come to light, and I'd like to recommend or move it so that we can enjoy it. Kia ora.
Seconder, please. Thank you, Rem. Councillor Napier. Second. Any questions? Councillor? Well done, team. I put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. Thanks very much to the team. Fantastic effort. Thank you very much. And Rowan, you're going to you've done the submission on the resource management reforms. You might just like to highlight our key position, bring everybody's to everyone's attention.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, unfortunately, this submission process got a little bit overtaken by our cyclone, like a lot of other things. So it's not as fine-tuned as we would have hoped, but I think it was important to get it lodged. So I just took the measure of lodging it. So the main points really are that loss of local voice, which we discussed at the workshop with you. So I think providing an opportunity for local comment on the draft plans when they're brought forward. I think is that opportunity for statement of community outcomes as well, but that is a little bit diluted in our opinion, and it doesn't require the Regional Planning Committee to just take them into account, and we think they should be given effect too. So that's a stronger wording that we're suggesting that change, so that stronger voice of the local community is brought forward. The other aspect, I think, which is a point that you are very concerned about, is that the regional planning committees don't have to have local representatives on it, and we're saying that that should be a mandatory aspect of it. So I think those are important points. In terms of the outcomes, it's very much an outcomes-based act, and one of the things is about climate change, which we very much support, and so that's in there, our support of that. I think there is a little bit of, in terms of the outcomes, a little bit of need to be thought about priorities and a bit of consistency between the national policy statement on highly productive land and the national policy statement on urban development needs to be brought forward also into the National Built Environment Act. I think those are sort of the main things. Or the transitional provisions are a little bit, I think, not very well thought through, and the national planning framework, which is yet to come out, all creates a lot of uncertainty, and we think that needs to be given further consideration as well. And then there are some matters that Angela raised around the waste aspects, which is very much at the forefront of our minds at the moment, and also around consenting processes left to deal with uncertainty by lack of national planning framework at the moment. So those are the main points.
Through you, Your Worship, I'd like to just make one other comment, and thank Mr. Wallace for making the submissions on a proposed piece of legislation that I think there's going to be some quite interesting conversations about what are the planning instruments that are going to be required in a recovery context, and some of the things that existed pre the 14th of February, like future development strategies and freshwater reforms that were all planned for the end of next year. Will we be able to wait that long? And how do the proposed changes to the RMA and all of that work need to come together in terms of potentially new planning instruments and different consenting arrangements in order to be able to facilitate the appropriate recovery and rebuild of regions that have been affected by these weather events. So I just want to congratulate you, thank you for getting all of that submission done on what was proposed, but noting that there could be, I think, some quite interesting pivots pretty quickly in this whole space, given what's happened over the last month in New Zealand.
Absolutely, thank you.
Through you, Chair, I think the Worship, I think the other aspect is the Climate Change Adaptation Act, which is due out in May. It'll be interesting to see if that is pushed back, or whether they've, how that shapes up as well. So I think that is going to be an important focus.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Councillor Redstone?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you everyone for that submission. I'm very much in support of the submission, particularly with outstanding natural landscapes being noted, the waste side of it, and climate change. So I'd love to move the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Redstone. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Lawson? Councillor Dixon?
Thank you, Worship. Ron, I appreciated that you actually mentioned the funding, and you highlighted that part of it, that it should come from central government and not from local councils. So thank you for doing that part of it as well.
Great, thanks so much. And on top of that, doing this work while you have been leading our rural community, what part of the team to come up with our rural community plan to look after our isolated communities. And Rowan's been working very hard. So across all the organisations, everyone's pulled together. Thank you. So I'll put those recommendations, councillors. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. Welcome to you, Matt. Local governance statement. Not sure that I've ever seen one of these before. This is very, very bureaucratic, very sensible. Technical, yes, yes, great. Right, under the Act, we have to do this. Bureaucracy, rules, legislation. Councillors, any questions on this item? Are you happy to move? Councillor Sholem, thank you. Councillor Watkins, second. No further questions. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. Well done, Matt. Fantastic work. How easy was that? Now, you're not going far because we've got the triennial agreement, and this is the triennial agreement, and
So can I just make an
yes,
obvious point, Your Worship? Obviously, we're required by law and had done some good work together as a region about the region's priorities. We are required to adopt a triennial agreement by the end of March. This is what's developed. I think we have to see it for what it is, which was something that was done at a point in time, and to recognise that pretty quickly the priorities of the regions is going to change. But this was the point in time document, and accept that in an applied sense as we get into our work as a region, obviously. But yeah, we're not in a position to do all of that at the moment, and do need to. Bureaucracy does rule with the law. Adopt a triennial agreement. So, I don't know if there's anything further you want to add, Matt, or.
Nothing further I'd add to that other than just to echo what you've put forward, Chief, around the need to be agile in the response to Cyclone Gabriel and how our recovery priorities at the regional level interface with the ones that we put forward in here.
thank you very much. Happy to move from the chair. Have a seconder, thank you. Councillor Lawson. No further comments about how we will move forward on a regional recovery plan. I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. Moving on to item 12, which is the Climate Action Joint Committee Terms of Reference. Never before is this going to be the most important committee that is set up as a regional joint committee. So the recommendations there. Welcome, Louise. Anne, did you want to make any comments? Councillor Redstone?
Sorry, Your Worship. Yes, I'm very pleased that this is where we're heading into a regional committee, because we need to be fully, how would I put it? And we need to all be involved in this now. We understand that climate change is actually a thing. I think the one thing that became positive from Gabriel was that people do understand, and there's very few naysayers now. Very sad way to understand though, but yeah, I'm really very supportive of the regional committee and would love to move the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Redstone. Thank you. Councillor Apatu, thank you. Any questions about this committee? I think it starts in April, doesn't it? So it's going to be very much priority for the region. Louise, did you want to add anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's probably two things: is the the approval from council around the joint committee and being a member of that, and the second thing we were hoping to seek were a couple of council representatives to sit on that joint committee.
The suggestion has been Councillor Redstone as the chair of our environmental resilience, and the mayors have been asked to be part of it.
Thank you.
Because they need the high level influence through district plans, through regional plans, through spatial plans, and so whatever comes from this committee will be elevated up across the region. So,
sorry, one more thing, Madam Chair, and just an alternate as well would be good if it was possible.
The deputy mayor would be very helpful. Given the influence and importance of our rural community too, and having that understanding. Thank you. Councillor Kerr, did you want to add anything? Sorry, just can't hear you.
No, Your Worship, I was just adding my support to all the comments that have been made. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Do we have a mover and a seconder, councillors, please? Councillor Sholem, Councillor Fowler, second. Any further questions? Oh, thank you.
I did move
I'll
it.
put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Awesome, thanks team. And then we've got, the next one is item 13. This is the external appointed committee and subcommittee members and the meetings attendance rate. Thank you, Louise.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is just a correction of an error that was made in a previous report back in December when you were setting these rates for the external members. So it's just, wanting to correct that going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Watkins. So you're happy to move. Thank you. Councillor Lawson? Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. And you've got item 15 too. Thank you, Louise. The request received under the Lagoima Official Information Act. There's a list of them there, councillors, for your understanding. Any questions on the Lagoimas?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I thought we skipped the Heretaunga.
Oh, have we?
one.
Appointments to Heretaunga Takoto Noa Māori Standing Committee. Item 14, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Item 14. Councillor Jessup.
I'd like to move it.
Great, thank you. Moved by Councillor Jessup. Seconded. Councillor Apatu. Wonderful appointments to our Heretaunga Takoto Noa Māori Standing Committee. So thank you, everybody. It's great. Can't wait for them to get started and get going with us. So that's awesome. So happy to, we've got a mover and a seconder. Put that recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Now we'll do the Lagoimas. Item 15. Take them as read? Yes. Happy to move from the chair. Have a seconder, please. Councillor Watkins. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. And another one from you, Louise. We've got this Civic Development Subcommittee, a change of quorum requirements. That's taken as read. Any Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Seconded. Thank you. Councillor Corbyn. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. And Louise again, schedule of meetings for 2023. Gosh, it seems a long time ago that we did that. Any questions on the schedule of meetings? You'll notice the areas when we encourage councillors, if they need leave of absence, to take them, and that is around the areas in the school holidays. Councillor Watkins?
Yes, just one question, Your Worship. In September, the Green Box Keep Free, does that relate to the 150th celebrations, or is that for something else?
No. School holidays. The way it says keep free, it means that people can actually take some time around those school holiday times.
Thank you.
So we can base all our council meetings around, so we do have everybody here at the rest of the year. Thank you. Councillor Sholem?
Thank you, Worship. I'm just wondering how the schedule might be impacted by the current crisis that we're in, given that staff are being pulled in all directions that would normally be lead reporting officers for subcommittees, and whether any considerations be put into that or will be.
Thanks, Louise.
Through you, Madam Chair. So there is an opportunity to make tweaks and adjustments should there be some challenges around officers and elected members being available for these different meetings to take place. But this is certainly the starting point, and if we need to make changes, we'll make them at our council meetings to come.
Thank you. Councillor Watkins?
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Watkins moved. Seconded, Councillor Sholem. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against?
Just had a question.
Oh, sorry, councillor Redstone.
My apologies, I'm sorry I'm not so visible, but just wondering, we've got landfill on some Fridays, but we haven't got Waste Futures. Is that an omission or is it not normally listed? We usually run them together.
Thank you. I've just got an answer here from Lynn.
It's just so the Joint Waste Futures can meet some of their deadlines for submissions and legislation. So they are going to be on separate dates this year from the landfill.
Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. Have I got that? No. I've got to move in a second. I'll put that all those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. The appointment of an external independent commissioner to the Plan Change 5 hearing, medium density housing. Thank you.
Kia ora. I'll just take that as read. This is John's item, but I'm happy to answer any questions. So it's for the medium density plan change. It's just to have an experienced commissioner who is used to dealing with a lot of Kāinga issues. So he brings a lot of experience to this issue.
Thank you, Graham. Councillor Sholem?
Thank you for an excellent recommendation in terms of an independent and very happy to move the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Sholem. Any further questions on this plan change? Councillor Lawson? Thank you, Councillor Lawson. No further questions or comments? I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Oh, Councillor Redstone, did you have a question? Oh, sorry. I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Now, we have a number of items today in the public excluded part of this agenda. And could I invite now Mr. Craig Cameron to explain why these 4 items have been in the public excluded.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The items are recommended by reporting officers to be public excluded, either because council is in the process of negotiations or approaching that process of negotiations, and or council is in possession of confidential business information of other organisations. It's recommended that they be held public excluded at this time.
Thank you. Do councillors have any questions about the public excluded nature of those items? Thank you. Happy to move from the chair. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Dixon. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. I now ask the Democratic Support Team to cease the public live streaming. Kia ora.